Orobo Shile Abona no nka January 2024 dalono afambo ijoma and if I know wele patata bo tuberculosis and the gender-based violence ano go eno nya lamoka mo ne ya we ne banye anya afia bo wa maka Gloria Chijokechukwu bo drug resistant TB focal person, Ministry of Health Oka ne anamana batagi.
Thank you very much.
Amazem odeka omaka na ideology. This aka mo na go we kai si we.
Okay.
You notice?
I notice kwam.
Ademma.
Thank
no.
you. Dalu.
Odemma enu bi 5 ku na anyị ga-akpa. Amaromo ka ebe a ga-ebido mana a ga-akpa na tia because na ife na-enye nsogbu. Ịghọtago. So ka anyị nwetagodo basics ebe a ga-ebido. Kedu ife bụ tuberculosis?
Okay, tuberculosis bụ ọya na-efe efe na-adị n'ime arụ. Ihe na-akọsị ya bụ bacteria anyị na-akpọ Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Nje bụ ihe na-akọsụ tuberculosis. And otu o sikwanu eme na otu o si agasa ebe niile bụ through onye na-akwa ụkwara ma ọ bụ na ị na-ezu uzere ma ọ bụ na ị na-agụ egwu ma ọ bụ na ị na-ekwu okwu asọ mmiri anwa na-apụsịsị gị n'ọnụ wee na-aga n'ikuku. So ndị ọzọ nọ gị n'akụkụ nwee ike kuru ya bụ asọ mmiri ma ọ bụ ụkwara ị na-akwapụta ma ọ bụ uzere ị na-ezepụta n'otu a ka ya bụ ọya si agasa. So ọnya ka anyị na-akpọ ụkwara nta. Ndị be anyị ụfọdụ na-adị na-akpịa ụkwara nta. Ọ bụrụ ụkwara nta. Ụkwara nta bụ amarọ nka mesi kọwaa ụkwara nta. Nchọ iji Igbo kọwaa ụkwara nta. Nweghị dị nta dị obere. Nta bụ obere mana ụkwara nta ọ na-atalisi gị arụ. Then ọ na-eme gị na-atakwa arụ. Na-ata arụ. So ọya na-akpịa ụkwara nta. Ọ bụrụ ụkwara nta. So ọya TB pụtara.
Ọ dị ma isi na onye na-akwa ụkwara ma ọ bụ onye tiri uzele ma ọ bụ onye na-ekwu okwu asa na-apụta ya n'ọnụ ka ife ga-akpọ nka airborne ka droplets ka ife nke abatanya.
Or an airborne disease. Tuberculosis is an airborne. Ka onye ahụ na-akwa ụkwara, droplets also will be spreading in the air. So ka onye ọzọ nọ gị n'akụkụ na-ekuru ya bụ ụkwara ị na-akwapụta. So ihe a na-akpịa is an airborne infectious, chronic infectious airborne disease.
Ọ dị mma. Kedu isi ka isi wee butezie na gender base? Onwelu ka ndị na-ayakalị ya iche.
Abịa na TB, onwere onye na-aya, nwoke na-aya, nwaanyị na-aya. Kama na onwe ihe o jidizi aka nke ụmụ nwaanyị ọ dị iche. Gender based. Ihe o jidi ka nke ha ọ dị iche bụ na nwaanyị mgbe ụfọdụ enwegasịrị ọ dịka ya sị na enyela anyị limitation. Ịghọtago asa ụmụ nwaanyị. So like onwelu case anyị nwelu a woman mgbe a diagnose zili ya ọ bụ na ọ dị positive. Di ya ajụzia na ọma ya na-abagodu be nne ya.
Maka na o nwere
tuberculosis. So that these are gender disparity. But TB abụrụ ọya na-egbu egbu. TB bụ a curable disease. You can cure TB. Once ị ṅụrụ ọgwụ ya, otu isi kwesị ịṅụ ya, ọ dị ka any other disease nwekwalụ drugs like malaria. If you take your malaria medication, you will be fine. TB, if you take the medication, you will be fine. Mana because na enwebero that awareness na community, a lot of people say ha TB. stigma abatia.
Okay, before I alone I never go there and if na cause that TB.
Okay.
Kedi if na cause TB.
Okay, if na cause TB, enwegasi different factors na cause ya. Anya establish go the fact na ihe a na-akpọ a mycobacterium tuberculosis be ihe na cause ya. Mana then ọ bụ na ịnọlụ na enclosed environment ebe enwere ikuku anara agasa maybe ebe akpọchikọsịrị ma ọnụ nọ na bus ma ọ na ịnọ n'ụlọ window kpọchikọsịa and there wee bịa ju crowded places ajụ n'ime onye kupụta ibi ekulu so ọ ihe ndị a bụ ihe na-akọsụ tuberculosis na-akọsụ the spread ma ọ bụ na gị na onye nwe TB bi n'ụlọ bili for long yotago ọ bụrụ na ya n'ezi eze but ekwesịzi ka put in measures safety measures so that ndị ọzọ nọ n'ụlọ ama contact ya like ka nsikwu ventilation imepegasị ụzọ mepee doors ọzọkwa si bie bụrụ onye anwachi ịkwa ụkwara ojili either tissue ma tinye aka na elbow wee kwa ya bụ ụkwara ka ọ yali spread ya to the air. So these are the things na cause TB. Crowded places. Places where of enough ventilation.
Okay, but it's basically an organism. Is it bacteria or virus or
no, it's a bacteria. That's why it's called mycobacterium. It's a bacilli.
Like kita ka mkwachala akpili and then there are a lot of people na akwakwa ụkwala kedu ka ị ga-esi amazi nke bụ ụkwala TB? What are the signs and symptoms?
Okay, the signs and symptoms ihe eji malụ or suspect ya TB bụ na ọ bụ na ịkwago ụkwala anwa more than 2 weeks and na ịṅụgokwa n'ọgwụ ụkwala like you take go cough syrup ma ọ bụ ọgwụ ndị kwesịrị ịkwụsị ya ọkwụsịrọ ọka na-akwa gị till after 2 weeks, then a man need DJ check for TB.
Okay, DJ check.
And well, different facilities. Well, our gene expert site. We have 13 gene expert sites in Anambra State with 14 gene expert machines. We also have machines and TB lamp. So these machines and TrueNat, these machines can test for tuberculosis. So in Anambra State, we have in different LGAs or Brosa no full LGA, and well, in different LGAs. So nije, but all go do na maro a particular site equally mobile body. Again, any hospital around you, we have up to 800 dot facilities. Na Anambra State na maka TB iruo ekọwalụ ha na ụkwara otego ọkwaba gị na ịchọrọ inenye for ụkwara nta ka ịma ma ọ dị ya so any facility ọbụla ịbanye ha ya welcome gị nalụ sample gị nalụ gị information send ya to the gene expert site result get put out.
So you go in a hospital, you just do tuberculosis department or whatever, or you just meet a doctor?
You go in a hospital, you meet a doctor.
Okay.
Kawazali ifene megi. Then kwazi any test. Although doctor no when you check one coachable doctor. Where direct is there on the next thing to do.
But apart from nonya kwala for up to 2 weeks. And any other thing, ordinary kwala waking up a mother for up to 2 weeks. And when other thing and wake on your football was suspect many fabric. Yes,
because now I've been at TB the uzonabo. When can pulmonary TB. That pulmonary TB bo nke eji okwala we malo. The person na okwala. Then other types of tuberculosis and under extrapulmonary tuberculosis. Ndi mmadu makanari bonko kwala. Extrapulmonary tuberculosis onyanwa amana ko kwala necessarily. Mana oga na-enwe other signs and symptoms like fever, like night sweats. If onyanwa fan digodu, the person will be sweating na inya osuso ana esue na aru na abani. Yotago. Then onya ga na ataru. Fatigue. O ga na ataru ina eni ayo na oye na eli eni no oye na eli godo de ka oda apoti ana aru. So these are under the section of extrapulmonary TB. And TB nwekwara ike ime other places na abụrụ so ụkwala. Ịma na TB major thing bụ ọ na-affect the lungs. Mana extrapulmonary TB nwere ike ime n'afọ, mee n'anya, mee n'ọkpa. Onwe nke a na-akpọ spinal tuberculosis na spine. Ịghọtago? So na some of these things ka ọ ga-abụ onwe ke ụfọdụ ọnya na-eme ụfọdụ ha sị na ha ejego all the tests emeghị ihe niile na onwere ha afụ mana ha testịrị for TB because ihe ọbụla ị na-eme i testịrị for TB in particular wee na-eje test niile enwero ka a ga-esi fịa until you go for that test for TB specifically.
Ma ọ bụ na TB.
Ma ọ bụ na TB. Ịma mmanụ na TB o nwere ike ichekigo ihe ndị ọzọ. Ịghọtago? O nwere ihe efu. Ikwesị ka ije ko check. And they
This is risky. That means a lot of people will be living with this without even knowing. How long does it stay in the body before the person starts feeling bad?
Almost like in Africa here in Nigeria, almost everybody have a latent TB. Not necessarily all, but some or most have what we call latent TB. So that latent TB can stay, is an inactive TB, this thing in your body, bacilli. So it can stay for years or mangosi. So manobosing in headache immunodepressant or you are co-infected with other diseases like diabetes, HIV. So these things can now make it to become active. Or no one was exposed to onye golia, onye that TB. These are exposed. So you are taking in more to into your body, like more than your immune can take. So or may or reactivate. So it will now come up.
Obiakwanu na TB a ụmụ nwoke na ụmụ nwanyị kede ndị na-ayakalị
okay, asimokube, maybe from my experience, okay, I also read that about 1.5% of women have TB more than men. And from being in the field, aside from being the DRTB focal person from the state, for the state, more adequate opportunity to also, I'm privileged to be the gene expert focal person for COUT. So from my experience and then the outreach in the field, the diagnosis, the tests, we've come to note that ụmụnwaanyị na-aka enwe karịa ụmụ nwoke.
Why? Why are they substitute to this?
Okay, this is something research that will help us with. But you know, one thing is that ịma na ụmụnwaanyị na-atụ ime na-amụ. And that process of hormonal changes, and you need to be, if you're not taking enough enough nutrients, enough vitamins to boost your immune, you can, you know, easily contact it if you are around onyene ebe ono. Some people have also said na male ụmụnwoke na-enweta ya more. But from my own experience in the field and from the data we have, you know, available, I would say na ana anwekalo more ụmụnwaanyị. And again, most men don't test.
That's what I want to say. Ana enwekalo more ụmụnwaanyị because na ụmụnwaanyị ada afia arụ anyị etibe.
Most men don't test. And the ụmụnwaanyị na-enwekalo more of meetings, committee, community, conferences. You know, so they get awareness more than the men. And they, you know, because of that awareness, they test more. So, and because na ha na test more, abia na presumptive ụmụnwaanyị na akali men in our presumptive cases. So when you test more, then you'll be able to get more diagnosed, and the nurse is okay now this number like in August meeting, I know outreach is in August meeting. You want to go and I collect a sample.
Okay. I thought maybe you carry your machine to that place and test them.
We do carry our mobile X-rays sometimes because ejikwa chest X-ray a check. Then but major thing is we go with our sputum cups and other thing. Obuna we, you know, ask you questions. Obuna in all those signs and symptoms that we mentioned. Then you produce sample, especially cough. you produce, I lose a test. So I would say no one mechanic or deka. Women more because women have the health this thing for during pregnancy. Yeah, antenatal. Yeah, just so kind of they are more opportune to get more information and also get help, you know. So onya me oji we deka ụmụ nwanyị.
Okay. And let us now zero down to why we brought in gender, you know, discrimination or whatever. I concern TB. So you give an example of a woman who has TB and then the husband asks her to go. What is that supposed to mean?
Well, these are the things we see in the field. You know, these are the things we see in the field. In our culture and tradition, the way we have seen it to be is that women should submit to their men. And of course, it is our belief, and that's how it has been. So sometimes when you see that, like that example now, the husband for Talia, because of lack of awareness, the husband doesn't know much about TB. So for Talia, in the light of HIV, that you know, more him because now more or so the husband was seeing it in that aspect of negative something to it, melody woman so all lack of information.
Some men are very unenlightened. I don't
know.
So
say I am bagodu ben near and near. But the child then you will come and
explain.
So, but we have to, you know, come in, talk to the man, give him the necessary information. We need dilemma, you know. May or dear way we and he had the curable. It's not like.
Were you able to convince him?
Yes, we were.
Okay, and then you mentioned HIV. What is the relationship between TB and HIV?
Okay, you know, because most of our intervention, we always include HIV. A TB patient or a suspect TB must also be tested for HIV. Okay, so why we do that? Just like I said, a co-infected or maybe a HIV patient, the more susceptible to contacting TB because of the immune system go down. Their immune system go down already. So that inactive TB can easily be activated, or a little exposure to a TB patient can make them to easily contact it. So we ensure that even HIV patients, in their acts like at Kowut, Amak, where I am, any HIV patient is also recommended to test for TB.
Test.
Yes, test for, especially when the person is already coughing. So that's the relationship.
Is there any kind of sensitization apart from the one you go to do during August meetings and a whole lot of things? Is there any other way you sensitize people on this tuberculosis issue?
Yes, there are different ways. There are different ways. Like we usually have our testing weeks. The previous last year, we were able to go to like NYSC camp. We did child testing week. So you go to schools, we go to motherless babies' homes. You know, we do a lot of interventions in different aspects to ensure, even to the markets, to ensure that we have a TB reach to almost everywhere in the state. So that is the interventions that we come up with.
What is the result like? That's
Okay,
having gone to this place, to school, to market, you know, to bring enlightenment or awareness to the people about tuberculosis. What is the result like? Are people cooperating with you?
Yes, I would say we are improving. You know, once people are enlightened about what TB is all about, it becomes interesting to them. So whenever we take it out there, we explain to them. You know, a lot of people now do or die, you know, affair. You know, once you mention TB, more quarantine, you know, but when we now bring that awareness and information to them, they respond. And they collaborate. Okay, mana aka nwekwa amansi na eri Chichago the whole Anambra. Aka nwe some hard to reach areas. Aka need put more effort to go in there. Like now, another way of awareness is during our TB World Day. We come to the TV. We try to, just like we are doing now, enlighten the people. You know, we go out, we do a lot of things. So there are a lot of ways that we try to reach out to people.
Okay. And then let's talk about the treatments now. Okay, let's talk about prevention before the treatments now. How do we prevent this, apart from not exposing yourself to a TB patient? You don't even know who is a TB patient. So how do we prevent contracting this? Okay,
preventive measures. Preventive measures is, first of all, imbibing the culture of coughing rightly. Ekwa okwala of mecho ekwa okwala, iwenyite your elbow. Kwanye ebe obune no, mana boss, ma anything. That's the easiest way. Kwanye na your elbow, so that you don't spread the virus, the bacteria. Then secondly, if you are in a bus, try to now ebe window, window. The window should not be locked. Anywhere, you know, like anywhere ventilation, because you don't know onye you don't know you and then so let anywhere ventilation, you know. So people that be in a crowded places, as in people be cut on, being at the same room and all that, there's need for that ventilation. Then as much as you can, avoid crowded places as much as you can, because na ka akpakọtasị mo ka anọkọsị onye ọbụla na-ekupụta na-akwaputa ibi ya na-ekuru. So as much as you can, avoid crowded places. Then ọbụ for onye mma na onwe go ma ọ bụ na quick off go for more than 2 weeks, you go for early detection. So that because once you start treatment, between 2 weeks to 6 weeks, or from 2 weeks, if I would say.
Okay, just hold it there. Hold it there. Let's go on this break and come back, and then you tell us about the treatments and how long it takes to treat tuberculosis, and then the stages. Whether there's any stage, if you start early, if you start at the middle, and you know the length of period for treatment. Okay, let's get out and hear from some people that will ask questions about this.
Yes! My champs, they use energy at school. I know, because imagine the energy they may have used up to return home distransformed every day.
Your champs need nourishing energy. Give them the new and improved Milo at breakfast.
It has nutrients that support energy release to help champs get the most out of their active days. Milo!
Is environment pollution, if I may say. Environment pollution, it might cause tuberculosis. So the only way we can prevent tuberculosis, to the best of my understanding, is we try to we have to segregate ourselves from environment pollution, eating with dirty hands, wash your food very well before you eat, and moreover the environment you do have to tight here. Because there are some places in the country we found out that children will go here and there, and flies will go and pet in there, after which we will come and also pollute the food. The parent will not mind, they will be eating the food. You understand me? So in that situation, when we go and start eating the food, they will contaminate tuberculosis.
I cannot say for sure that this is not tuberculosis, but I will advise anyone who discovers that he or she has tuberculosis to go to hospital and meet specialists so that she will not transfer it to other members of the family. I didn't know that there are some NGOs that normally is medication for people that have.
But I know that tuberculosis is an infectious disease. So for people who have it, you should be taken to the hospital and be isolated where in the isolation ward. And if you have somebody that is suffering from it, you also have to isolate him when you come to your house, you know, so that you don't spread it. The stigma is not much. Stigma is not much. The pregnant women should, you know, own up and go to the hospital and own up so that they will be treated and go. Because we can affect the time. Yes.
Tuberculosis is an airborne disease. It can be affected through communication, just like maybe the saliva flying and eating another person. I think one who is who have tuberculosis is normally stigmatized in our society, most especially as it comes to women. Understand? So when one is be deviled or be deviled with that the sickness, tuberculosis, people tend to disassociate from such person because it's a communicable disease, an airborne disease, and I don't think it's easily curable.
You know, we need proper orientation. We need proper orientation. The orientation agency, this is where, you know, their job.
Ready for school? Yes! My champs, they use energy at school. I know because imagine the energy they may have used up to return home distransformed every day.
Your champs need nourishing energy. Give them the new and improved Milo at breakfast.
It has nutrients that support energy release to help champs get the most out of their active days.
Okay, anyị na-anabatakwu n'ọzọ cheta na ife anyị na-etinye ọnụ tata bụ tuberculosis and gender-based violence and their impact on women and girls. Okay, and onye mụ na ya ka nọkwa ebe a bụ Nwamaka Gloria Chijokechukwu. She is the drug resistant TB focus person, Minister of Health, Oka. Nwamaka ka na-anabatakwa gị.
Daalụ.
Ọ dị ma ịnụ gị ife ndị kwulu and ama m na no further dabaro, no further dabaro. Can you please point those ones out?
Okay, enwere onye nke si na ọ bụ na onye nwe tuberculosis na ọ kwesị segregate onwe, isolate onwe from the rest. That is a wrong perception of tuberculosis. Tuberculosis it's not like when we had COVID. That will be causing stigmatization and discrimination against the person, which causes other things like mental health, trauma, and all of that. So for tuberculosis, like onye nke kulunu, onye nke bo Charles, na onye nke kulo kwa deko ikpeazu, o make a very important point. Also na tuberculosis, aburo na a lot of people na stigmatize ndi bia, mana it's not right. The right thing to do, but to advise the person, to advise the person to go to a hospital for the specialist to look into it, diagnose the person, and place the person on treatment. He needed to be able to, watch for the preventive measures. For ventilation. For na crowded places. For na TB no need for isolation.
No need for isolation?
Yes.
So
yes.
She doesn't impose any kind of danger on the people there?
No, it doesn't. Once the person now observe the safety and preventive measures like ọkwanye na tissue otinye nwee particular container a na-ekuchi otinye ekuchi ya later they will dispose those things disinfect kwa ya and continue and bụrụkwa ihe a na-ebute with spoon na fork ya si na olicha nni na ejizikwa na ali nni no olicha nni you wash your spoon and still use it. So then we're on need for it discriminate against onye TB. And once the patient is placed on treatment on wire for 2 weeks, the patient is no longer infectious. The bacteria is no longer infectious because those ogwana have suppressed that the bacteria. It has suppressed it to the level that odorously infectious. It's just before. That's why early detection is very good. So chop takwanara na akwukwala and go kwala and kwala for 2 weeks. A man, you have to go and check yourself out in a hospital so that ibido n'oge. Ibido kwanara oge nwuwa you're no longer a threat to people around you.
Okay, let's now talk about that treatment. Nke bido n'oge, nke bido na middle, na nke bido na isi ngwucha. Okay. So I mean different stages of tuberculosis.
Yes.
Kedo kesi treats here. How long does the treatment last?
Okay, tuberculosis treatment regimen but for 6 months. 6 months can once daily.
Maybe don't know, maybe don't need late.
Yes, 6 months, once daily. The only reason why we call for early detection is to prevent the disease from eating up deeply more into you because this disease affects the lungs.
I actually wanted to ask you the organs that it eats up.
It eats up the lungs, it affects the lungs. So the more in a woge, where before assess their treatment, the more is damaging the lungs. Okay, so that's why obuna in notice here is no get test you give at that time you are still and they got funa as that person gana ataziaru so drastically gana and see fever up and down, a lot of fatigue, you can't walk, you know. On a medicine, some people had it critically down that they can't even stand up again from the bed. So that's why when you start on time, but when that person is still placed on treatment, after some time the person picks up. If you go down if you all those fever, all those weakness and all that, the person start getting stronger. Before you know it, about their business. So it's curable, like I said. The only thing is, don't allow it to now affect your lungs so much before you get
go for
help.
Treatment. Okay. One kind of the topic. Tuberculosis and gender-based violence and their impact on women and girls. As we are rounding up, please. Kedu onye go instance of nwoke nke chuna nwunye. You have been in the field, so kedu other areas or other cases where ụmụ na ụmụ generally but not from wanna be at the bronze when it comes to the tuberculosis.
Okay, other areas could be a woman who for instance, like I mentioned before, na age of itu ime na-amụ. So if the oil might not be so easy for the woman. One, I've mentioned hormonal changes because we also have pregnant women with TB. Pregnant women with TB. And
can she pass it to the child?
No, she can't pass it to the child.
But can you treat her while she's pregnant?
Yes. You can treat pregnant women. You can treat because even a newborn or an infant, maybe that have contacted it through the mother, and we're treatment for children, for infants.
So it can be passed to the baby?
No. It can only be passed when the baby is brought to, is being delivered, you know. And don't me and take care. That's the way the baby can contact it. So if you at those period, now a critical period, and these drugs are strong antibiotics. Yotago so onya na anwe akwesi ina eli nni ofma, and you know already the mother is breastfeeding. That's another nutrient na appear na aru. And then again you're taking drug medications. This TB medications, strong antibiotics. So if you na anwe ona cause a headache, too much iko, too much fatigue.
The person is taking TB treatments and breastfeeding.
Yes.
So does the content of the drug goes to the breast and then affects the child?
No, it doesn't. Rather, it will even serve as a preventive this thing. Though we still have a drug, we call it TPT. It's a preventive drug for people around you. So that's an area again that I need to go into. We do contact tracing. So once we find a TB patient, we go to the household of the patient, we do contact tracing, we collect the samples of the people you are living with or you are always staying with, and we test them. So once they are negative, a place on preventive drugs.
I think that was what I had in mind when I asked you, well, how can we prevent this?
Yes.
Okay, but it's for those that are living with a patient, TB patient. So can I ordinarily take preventive drugs for TB?
If you're not exposed to a TB patient, it's not necessary.
Does it have any adverse effects?
It doesn't. It doesn't. I wouldn't say there is. It doesn't. But you know, when you don't just start taking medication when you are not exposed to the risk. Okay, without prescription, or if you feel you need to take it, you need to visit a doctor. Where you know, and when we can certify why or how you should take it. So that's the.
Okay, is the drug readily available?
Sure, the drug is readily available. The TPT is available. Then the drugs for TB, they are.
Is there an OTC
available.
drug?
No.
Can you access it in any pharmaceutical shop or just hospital?
No. You can only access it from the DOT facilities in the hospitals. The DOT facilities, they have these drugs.
The preventive and the curative?
Yes.
Okay. So we're running out, please. Are you done with the way it affects women and children?
Okay. For children, like I said, is easily passed on from their parents. Okay, and then again the adverse, or will I say the challenge that children have as well, which we have encountered one, is because they don't have they can't make decisions for themselves.
Okay.
So for parents that don't have awareness or they are not informed about TB, we've experienced one that they vehemently refuse that their child will be placed on TB drugs. And the child is very down. He stopped going to school, you know, very lanky, fatigue.
Does the drug have any adverse effects?
It doesn't. It's because of awareness. They already have that TB thing in mind, that TB is a deadly disease, or that religious thing.
Don't want to be
this thing
from
will not happen to my son. No, it's not my son. My pastor said he will be fine, you know. We won't place him on any TB medication. So in their mind is one deadly disease, and when we give them, or maybe they believe, some also believe is something that the enemies is after them. So
the person that's treating TB will need to take it for 6 months.
Yes.
1 tablet a day. Is it capsule or tablets or caplets?
No. We have about. It depends on your weight.
Okay.
We give you the medications based on your weight. We have isoniazid, rifampicin, pyrazinamide, and ethambutol.
Don't confuse
us. So I didn't want to go into.
Just don't confuse us. What I want to know.
So, but
does it come stage by stage?
By weight.
Okay, yes, but let's come by stage. That after this stage, you take this.
Yes, we have just 2 stages: the intensive phase and the continuation phase. The intensive phase is just for 2 months, and then you will be tested. We'll do follow-up tests. You will do that follow-up. Once it's negative, then you move on to the continuation phase.
All right. Just in one word, advise our people. Let's go.
Okay. The only advice that I'm going to give you is to know that TB is curable. It's not a deadly disease. It's curable 100%. And please, once you notice that you have been coughing for more than 2 weeks, go to the nearest hospital you can, explain to them, and then get tested and start treatment on time.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. TB is curable. The drugs are accessible. Are the drugs free, by the way?
The drugs are free.
Okay, so the treatment is free.
Is free.
I don't know why you want to die in silence. It's not even a death sentence. Thank you very much, Maka Gloria Chijoke Chupu, the drug-resistant TB focal person, Minister of Health, Oka. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Dalo na ndị banya biko onye arụ mụbanya ji ụnọ ọgwụje gwụọ onwe gị because if amarazi wee kwuru nke a bụkwa free o ọ sị ọbụna ịkwagwokwala 2 weeks just go and test it. My test, my treatment, my everything be free. Am I right?
Yes,
okay.
You're very correct.
So thank you very much. Thank you, the camera guy.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody that made it happen today. Thank you, the MCR guys, the producers, and a whole lot of commanders in the house today. Thank you. My name is Sijama. God keeping us. I got to talk with you. Be there by Jose. Got to go. Dalono.